tipping the cap to the people that set up the festival over there. When they first went to set it up, the rules on what they had about what you could say and what you couldn't say in Saudi Arabia, the people running the festivals will be like, all right, well, man, that's game, set, match. If this is, like, all you can talk about. So everybody was making this stuff about, like, the restrictions, like, what you can or can't say. Yeah. All that restriction shit is people trying to not be in trouble. Like, well, they just progressed the ball, like, 10 yards, and it was amazing, and I would call it embarrassing, but I think it's worse than that. It's humiliating. It's debasing to the degree that it almost feels like a fetish. When he wasn't dick riding for Riyadh, Bill would also bring up the familiar talking point that we shouldn't isolate Saudi Arabia. Your job was to just, okay, we've gotten them to here, you can move them to there. And it's like, as much as people don't like what's going on over there, it's like they're not going to progress with isolation. How many times have we heard almost this exact talking point made already?
When I heard its opening, I thought, that's awfully interesting. That just feels like a good opportunity. And I just think comedy is a great way to get in and start talking.
Things can really change. And to me, like, a comedy festival felt like something that's pushing things to be more open and to push a dialogue. And you kind of have to make a choice of whether you're going to isolate or engage.
Us isolating them teaches us nothing and teaches them nothing.
Yeah. They're not going to progress with isolation.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? Almost like some of these comics were given talking points or something. Also, it kind of inherently contradicts the points they've made about how modern and progressive the country is.
I was talking to a friend who goes, you're fine there. It's like basically America.
Oh, all right,
like,
great.
How I went to the Middle East and learned how toxically ignorant I was about the Middle East, and how the biggest takeaway was how to separate the people that live in a country from the government.
This is the thing, a lot of people in the West, they just have this it's pretty kind of racist if you ask me. They just have this complete bastardized view of people in the Middle East, right?
And everybody's just regular. They're dressed different, but they're regular. Like people just shooting the shit, hey, how you doing, welcome, we're happy to be here.
Are they just like us because they have a Jimmy John's and a Foot Locker? Or is it a backwards country that needs to have their minds opened by the razor-tongued truth-tellers of stand-up comedy? Which is it? I'm asking rhetorically, of course, because Building 7 Bird will never answer this question. Instead, he went on to make several points we've already discussed, such as the dogpiling of Jessica Kirson, or the fact that the Saudis have a lot of American fast food restaurants.
And I will tell you, the Cheesecake Factory in Riyadh, man, it's incredible. It's right next to the Pizza Hut and the KFC.
Afterwards, Bill would double down on the remarks he opened this interview with. In fact, he arguably dialed them up a notch. He would start by trying to make the case that as far as blood money goes, he's performed in worse places.
And one person texts me, oh, you're going over there to get that blood money, right? And I go, hey, just for the record, I'm also doing London, England on that tour, which is arguably the bloodiest fucking money out there.
Then just outright calls his detractors racist.
So there's like that element of racism to it, where if brown people are doing it, it's fucked up. If white people are doing it, what are you talking about? Almost like sports, so.
We've already discussed why this is a bad argument numerous times.
Oh no!
Over one more time in brief. Had Bill simply performed at a comedy club in Riyadh, he would not be neck deep in controversy. It was the fact that he took money directly from a government that he himself called oppressive. That is the problem. It's the fact that he suddenly became willing to perform in Chop Chop Square, as he put it, despite knowing years ago that Saudi Arabia was committing human rights abuses. It's not a hard concept to understand, and I don't think Bill is too stupid to figure it out. I think he's being dishonest because deep down he knows he made a really bad decision. More so, I don't think Bill has ever faced backlash of this magnitude. To borrow a term from a man who should be legally required to wear a propeller beanie, Bill has never really been in the storm. At least not to this degree. It shows in the flailing arguments he has made over the course of several months. It's been so bad that it probably would have been better if he never addressed it at all. Or if he simply said he went to Riyadh for the money, because people already think he did that anyway. But now they also think he's lying about it. Even after his initial outburst, Bill has continued to make references to the criticism he received that have become increasingly passive-aggressive and vague, such as this bizarre rant about a French sex doll manufacturer that he compares to the controversy of Riyadh.
They want to put it on one person so then they can take all of this shit that they haven't dealt with and then fucking put it on that person, which I totally get after that fucking comedy festival. Here's something I fucking saw. I read French newspaper. I read this French newspaper, Le Brillant, and people were outraged. There was some company that makes like sex dolls, these super realistic looking sex dolls, and they came out with a line of them that looked like kids, like under 10 years old. If you're upset about a comedy festival, I can't imagine what the fuck you're gonna have to say about that. My guess is gonna be absolutely nothing.
While this is a whataboutism, it's bad even by the standards we've seen in this video. I'm sure most people would be appalled by the story, but it is completely unrelated to the issue of the Riyadh Comedy Festival. There is literally no connection here, to the point that it's difficult to understand what Bill's argument would even hypothetically be. People don't have to call out every single other unethical thing that has ever happened to be able to call out people like Bill Burr. In a broader sense, Bill has been complaining about comedians trashing other comedians.
For the life of me, the fact that that is a thing now, two things that blow my mind. Comedians trashing other comedians in specials and on podcasts, just the cannibalism of that. And then also watching like states hating other states. It's like, did we learn anything? Have we learned anything?
This was a stupid argument when Andrew Schultz made it, but feels pathetic coming from Bill Burr. You can tell he still views stand-up comedy as something bordering on a fraternity of truth-tellers who need to band together against the rest of the world.
I'm telling you, dude, the fucking internet is evil. It is turning everybody against each other. You're even seeing it in stand-up comedy.
Damn it.
Comedians go after other comedians on podcasts. They literally say the person's name. They trash. I do interviews now. People try to get me to trash like other fucking they don't do that. I don't fucking do that.
Mixed in are your generic observations that the internet is evil and pits us average Joes against each other. Before we can even have our cup of coffee or morning helicopter ride,
let's fucking chill out. Let's stop having these cunts wind us up. All these nerds that own these fucking social media networks, they're literally bullying the entire population now. And then you and somebody else, okay, take the bait and you start yelling at somebody else that you would vibe with in the parking lot outside of the Forum, going to a Foo Fighters concert. You fucking have a couple of drinks. Now you're on the internet and you're fucking ruining each other's morning.
It's just sort of a trite observation that he meekly uses to insinuate that the criticism he received is illegitimate. More concerningly, Bill seems to have slipped into full-blown delusions about who was behind the criticism, preferring to believe it was all bots sent after him by quote-unquote nerds.
And when the bots get everybody mad at something else, I'll answer any and all fucking questions. That's the thing about being a comedian, is you're an independent contractor. There's no ad money tied to you, so everybody can just, they release the bots so they can just keep it going. And they're flicking the back of your ear. Every time you go on
Oh, why did I do that?
media platform, you let the nerd fucking flick the back of your ear and ruin your morning, ruin your cup of coffee with some phony shit that a bot just sent you. Now, why don't the nerds unleash the bots on that thing? Why don't they do that? It's kind of funny that they didn't, right? What does that mean? Who are the bots protecting and what are they doing? I really want those fucking nerds to just ask them the question, like, why do you do that shit?
This is not an argument anyone would make if they were thinking straight. What would be the purpose of sending bots after a guy like Bill Burr? Who would even be behind something like that? I think he's implying that some tech billionaire is trying to take revenge on him for his previous remarks.
Everybody is afraid of these nerds. I don't get it. I hope if feminists were focusing on frat boys and guys with their hands on backwards and they left the nerds alone, and now look at them.
Regardless, it's little more than a way for Bill to avoid engaging with legitimate criticism. If he pretends none of the comments are coming from real people, then he doesn't have to acknowledge that their criticisms are valid. He doesn't have to do any introspection into why his fans have turned on him, or why they would have seen him taking part in the Riyadh Comedy Festival as a betrayal. He can just bury his head in the sand and hope it blows over eventually.
I don't even know what the fuck I need, but I don't need to be going around fucking upset about shit. I don't even know what it is and get myself all fucking worked up over something a fucking robot said or a bot.
Unfortunately for Bill, I'm not sure it will. Of all the people involved in the Riyadh Comedy Festival, I think Bill will be hurt the most. It's not just that he made bad decisions or that he made a lot of them. It's not just that he was willing to look the other way for the money either. It's that by making this deal with the devil and then trying to lie to his own fans about it, he's undermined the trust and goodwill he built with them over decades. That is a hard thing to earn back. It will also make any form of critique on society or politics difficult for Bill going forward. How do you criticize ICE for what they're doing when you were willing to work directly for a brutal dictatorship where basic human rights do not exist?
You know, someday they're going to be out of brown people to put in those vans. They're still going to have the vans, so you shouldn't be feeling comfortable about it, thinking that you're not going to be in it. Yeah, it's fucked up.
This is why I said in part 1 that the decision to perform Riyadh was so damning for the comedians who took part. It wasn't just a matter of selling out. It was a sign that they have horrible judgment and don't actually care about any of the values they espouse unless it affects them directly. I don't know exactly how this will play out for Bill in the long term, because he seems unwilling to let the situation go. As recently as January, he was still bringing up the festival and promising to one day release the whole truth.
Anyway, looking forward to doing my first road gig since that comedy festival I did. I don't know if you guys heard about that. I did a comedy festival that people had a lot of opinions on.
Bastard.
Jesus Christ. Someday. I am going to do, when enough time's gone by, when people clearly don't give a fuck, I am going to do, on this podcast, a nice deep dive into the absolute absurdity of that whole fucking thing. Anyway.
Personally, I find that Bill's approach to the controversy has been especially strange. His reluctance to engage with the topic makes him look cowardly. It doesn't match up with the persona he's developed over the years, that of a man who doesn't back down from confrontation or uncomfortable subjects. He refuses to simply drop the issue, but he also won't go into detail defending himself. He just keeps telling his fans that all will be revealed at some heretofore unknown future date. Why? Maybe Bill does genuinely believe that he's being targeted by bots and online terrorists.
They're basically online terrorists.
Thus, he's waiting for the shitstorm to die down so he can give his side of the story without it being twisted or taken in bad faith. The problem is, that still makes Bill look bad. If he really has evidence that will exonerate him, why not just come out with it already? It doesn't make sense unless Bill has no real intention of ever explaining the situation because he doesn't have any defense beyond the ones he's already used. But it's only adding confusion to the situation, which has been the story of how Bill has mishandled this whole controversy. More than any other comic who went to Riyadh, Bill's reaction has been a series of unforced errors. He didn't have to go to Saudi Arabia to begin with.
The bot got away.
He didn't have to address the situation, even if he thought
I saved the bot.
he shouldn't have founded his argument on calling his critics sanctimonious, racist
Well,
bots.
at least my sacrifice wasn't for nothing.
Key word on ammonium. It doesn't really matter though. I don't see anything short of a full blown
Oh.
being able to get billed out of the hole. He just does it for
GG.
himself.